the first to know. Nsem-Pii TV.
Yawamakwa babion ediba Nsem-Pii TV platform. So yeah, bo ediura the Tema Port. O pegana a japadia baako ya former President John Dramani Mahama ehu ni siliwa. Yeah, in fact, Ghana for do na ye omo ye pa na eri the same of the Tema Port. Na dia na ye omo ni say the country eco seek your loan from Swiss bank, a loan of over $100 million. Yeah, it be expansion works e the Tema Port. Yeah, expansion works ni we a pepe. And a former President John Dramani Mahama LEC Tema Port Edema Meridian Port Services, led by Ballore, a French investor, for over 20 years. Sikasa no DJ over $300 million. SI granting over $800 million tax reliefs. Kwa. That over $300 million in Sikano so the yeden. And the busumi nsiampo no sande ye call IMF. Ekwaje bosia. Enti the sale of Tema Port there, in fact, Ghana for do na atete. Enti sometimes na importers and exporters soon about duties and taxes on mutual no port na na nwanwa kakra, because ye nyina ye wo man yi mu. And a former President John Dramani Mahama so sin it me lazy Tema Port edima nipa baako ya anti importers and exporters rising against this decision. Ye nyina ye ha led by the middleman Alhaja Soma Banda ehu ni siliwa yanka ho hwe. Enei documents ni wo ho, you can go and refer for yourself. Ya ha ye ntwantro the African Confidential magazine asheda ye ehu editorial on it. Enei the government of Ghana ownership status the Tema Port so enuru 20% people. More than 70% of new cost of Tema Port is under the control of Ballore. Into no the tax to so and sana buying also kakra open aje free so no so the kakra ka ho. Nti ebe kabo mu na ayese bocho kakraka. Na ama importers ni exporters ebre na Nana Addo kwakufo adutu anamobi on say yedini Ballore abano ni Ballore tnase ekwo into negotiation for the termination of that contract, but sika na papa no demand from the government of Ghana and san what terminate contract no na over 20 billion United States dollars. Enti Ghana ban hu say e wose yetumi boy ye ho so na yetumi accumulate revenue from the port ni emu yedu na yesan go back to the negotiation table na encampese eso take kakra no ayehunu kwan ye betumi afa so aye sort ne out ne yensa ka ye port eno na ban ne trase hu se wakasa wo san e de taxes bi o beka ho. In fact, it is going to overburden the ordinary Ghanaian. Eno enema Dr. Mahmoud Bomia adwene kese tikese ya wi agye trans se da bi sika na kakra no kra ba no elikidodo. Why don't we introduce digitalization so that we can accumulate a larger percentage of revenue coming from the port and the palace? Today, God being so good, revenue according to the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, through digitalization, revenue at the Tema Port I increase from 45% then, and to me receive close to 78% of revenue here at Tema Port. I mean, you say as time goes on, that percentage will increase. Nana Addo kwakufo adon so transit do hu say there be we can do this. Now, according to the contract, the terminal 1 a whole expansion works in can course no any seen fully ediama Ballore. Enti Nana Addo nso adwen tikese awi adwen nso yes obey expansion works e Tema Port, but not on that terminal 1 eno de Ballore over 70% ownership of it. Enti no wo sisi new terminal say ye terminal 2 make say Nana Addo kwakufo addo assign initiative moves say oye terminal 3 aban no ho behin no revenue stream if free the port oban ebe kosoro na say with time aban atumi agada more na sign akọ back to the negotiation table with Ballore. Yanko yinchirimu enfamfa sanse.
Phase of the port expansion project is considered an important part of Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority's master plan of port infrastructure, which covers 270,000 square meters, utilizing 40 million high-standard pavement blocks required for heavy crane operations. This expands Terminal 3 holding capacity from 100 hectares to 127 hectares, with total completion in 2025. The terminal currently has 12 key cranes and 41 yard cranes, positioning Tema Port as an efficient port in sub-Saharan Africa, as leading global shipping lines make the port a preferred one. President Akufo-Addo underscored the importance of port infrastructure.
Through our partnership with international partners and friends of Ghana, our nation has established a world-class trade infrastructure. Not only does this infrastructure meet global standards, but it also signals to investors, both domestic and foreign, that Ghana is open for business. It is no mean achievement, as it reflects the immense potential of our nation. Indeed, the substantial investments made in the harbor since 2017, together with the state-of-the-art equipment we see today, have tripled the port's capacity. This indicates that Ghana is poised for unprecedented trade growth. With our strategic location,
the expanded port has 1.4 kilometers quay with 4 deep berths equipped with container handling gantry cranes and terminal operating system, having the capacity to receive some of the world's biggest cargo ships, carrying up to 18,000 containers. To ensure good turnaround time, Transport Minister Kweku Furi-Siama says there will be expansion of road linking the port to the Accra-Tema motorway.
And I can say on authority that, Mr. President, that's your marching order. We are going through the legal regimes, and I can assure you, my information from the MD of MPS and GPHA is that they are nearing completion in terms of documentation, and I can assure you that by the first quarter of next year, you will see the construction start.
According to Chief Executive Officer of Meridian Port Services, Mohammed Samara, the acquisition of the gantry cranes worth $50 million and the project will have direct impact on the economy.
The vision that we want to see for Ghana is not to have a fancy, port with a big crane technology, but also the enabling factor for other trade and industries to be developed, around it, so it can create a job to the wider team and audience. In this facility, we have created about 3,000 jobs. Permanent, and plus during the construction we added in phase 1 5,000, and this job will add probably another 3,000 jobs, But that's not what it is. What it is if tomorrow factories start to set up in Tema Township, those factories, how many are they going to employ? And this is the key thing, the economic impact.
Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA, which is a joint partner in Meridian Port Services, says collaborative efforts amongst the partners and stakeholders will help provide efficient services. Sandra Opoku is the director of Tema Port.
That we had to collaborate with MPS and their partners, and that is what we are seeing today. Now you saw one of the biggest vessels to come to Tema Port, and because of the width of that vessel and how big and the number of containers on it, they need gantry cranes like these. These are the state-of-the-art gantry cranes to be able to operate. And certainly GPHA, as the landlord, we are also prepared, and so we've also brought in new tugboats. You saw the tugboat pushing in the vessels. So we work hand in hand with our partners, and this is what we're seeing today.
President of Africa Global Logistics, Philippe Labon, says the project positions Ghana as a trade hub.
And since it's becoming a hub, that the largest vessel will come, they will have frequent calls in Tema, allowing the producer of Tema products, of Ghanaian products, to export all over the world, and especially in Africa, to support trade and to help business grow. And therefore, it helps to create jobs.
Meanwhile, Regional Managing Director, Africa and Europe for APM Terminals, Igor van den Essen indicated that the Tema Port expansion project, since its inception, has created about 5,000 direct jobs. The Terminal 3 project is expected to play an important role in the African Continental Free Trade Area, with a unified market of 1.3 billion people and a combined GDP of over $3 trillion, aside employment opportunities for construction workforce and its valuable skills for the future.
We talked about the 2024 budget, and of course we've got to make some recommendations and reactions from the business groups. This time around, we have on the telephone lines the president of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, that's GREDA, Patrick Ebubonfo, to speak to us on that. Thanks so much, sir, for joining me on Business Live. I know prior to the 2024 budget presentation, you were looking forward to, the policy on housing being addressed, right? So,
yes.
And now, having listened to the finance minister yesterday, none of that appeared in the budget.
Well, none of that appeared in the budget, but, we were asking for a number of things. Something appeared, but not all. Our expectation was, the Oliver case expectation. We wanted more. We wanted to see something more, but, we got some, and there's so much we can do.
I see. Some 8 new tax reliefs given by government, really, from where you said as GREDA, how does that come to you?
Yeah, the heavy reduction in the tax on commercial property is something quite, welcoming, because either to our members, were complaining about that high tax of 15% on property, commercial property. So that is a very, very welcome news. And as always, we are hoping for taxes, reduction in taxes in other areas, like building materials and all. But we got something. So we're hoping that maybe next year, maybe that will be considered for us.
And Mr. Bonfo, we do know that as we speak in the country, the cost of building materials are really high, and we're hoping that indeed the 2024 budget will address some of these issues. Now, it hasn't. So what's the way forward?
Yeah, as I was saying, we expected, more than what we got. We will have to work with what we got, and then still continue the dialoguing with government to see what can be done. If not in this budget, at least in the subsequent budget. In that.
The exercise will focus on meeting the electorate while announcing his bid to regain power as president. The concerns gathered on the tour will feed into the NDC's manifesto for the 2024 general election. John Mahama paid a courtesy call on the Wenchi Traditional Council. Paramount Chief Osajefo Ampem Anye Amuapong Tabrako III emphasized the lack of development in the area and called for prioritization of agriculture development.
We have an agricultural-based economy, but we have not been very successful with it. We have a farm college with at least 400 students. We want you to upgrade the college when you come into government. You know the benefits of agriculture. I hope Wenchi becomes the best when it comes to agriculture in Ghana.
According to the former president, after over 30 years of constitutional rule, the country is yet to witness the expected development. He says presently the country is in a ditch.
Your boss no VIP ayede eko akwantu no akoto ditch mu na ehia se ye nyina beboa ne asom na yeyi ye boss no asensi kwan so.
The bus on which we are traveling has fallen in a ditch, and we all have to help get it back on the road. The only political party that can develop this country is the NDC.
Enti ya adwen de baby Ghana edru no ehia se NDC besan ba na ya be.
So we think there's a need for the NDC to return and restore the bus for the journey. The country is in a difficult place. The economy is bad. The country is in debt.
Enyoma edin esika sema say eka amene Ghana ya yenya brofo kasamu ye friend bankrupt.
Touching on agricultural development, Mr. Mahama reviewed the NDC's plan to build a cashew processing plant in the Ballore region for agricultural transformation.
Yeah, by agriculture, any agro-processing.
When we come into power, agriculture and agricultural processing will be a priority. We will develop them together. If an area grows cassava, a processing plant will be developed there.
Agro-processing. Now the bunch factory
Punahafo leads cashew production in the country, so we will give it the deserved attention.
Cashew, Brown Ahafo Henida and a leading Ghana and the cashew production.
Meanwhile, the former president, Mahama, has assured of willingness to complete stalled projects in the area.
Enti Nana, yede yentisa yanom. Yentisa yanom. Yen shabwa yentiminye.
We are not like the others who refuse to redeem their promises. We don't go about promising people. I want all to exercise restraint because the NDC brings development. I am not new to Wenchi. I have known the place since my childhood. The place is not as developed as expected. We know issues of chieftaincy has dragged development.